Imagine working in a factory filled with the smell of burning plastic, breathing in toxic air for hours every day, all to make simple fruit crates. For many workers in the plastic recycling industry, this is their daily reality. Every year, the world generates over 400 million tons of plastic waste. A significant amount of this plastic ends up in landfills, polluting the environment for centuries. But some of it gets a second life, turned into new products through recycling. One of these products is fruit crates, used globally to transport and store fresh products. At first glance, this might seem like a great solution. Instead of dumping plastic waste, we reuse it to create something useful. But behind the scenes, this process is far from safe or eco-friendly. The recycling of plastic into fruit crates involves toxic fumes, chemical exposure, and dangerous working conditions. Factories processing waste plastic often operate with poor safety regulations, putting workers at risk. Meanwhile, the environmental benefits of this process are questionable, as harmful emissions and chemical leaks create new problems. To understand the full impact, let's start at the beginning. Where does the plastic for these fruit crates come from? The plastic used to make fruit crates comes from one place: trash. Every day, people throw away millions of plastic items, things like old containers, broken buckets, and damaged packaging. Instead of being dumped into landfills, some of this plastic is collected and sent to recycling factories. At first, this might seem like a good idea. After all, why let plastic go to waste when it can be reused? But not all plastic is safe to recycle. Many types contain dangerous chemicals that don't just disappear when melted down. Instead, they get released into the air, into the soil, and sometimes even into the products themselves. Once the plastic arrives at the factory, it goes through several steps. First, it is shredded into tiny pieces. This makes it easier to process, but it also creates a lot of plastic dust that workers breathe in. Without proper masks, this can cause serious lung problems over time. After shredding, the plastic is washed. Factories use large amounts of water mixed with strong chemicals to clean off dirt, labels, and anything stuck to the plastic. This dirty water is often dumped into nearby rivers, polluting the environment. But the real danger begins in the next step: the melting process. When plastic is heated, it releases toxic fumes that can cause breathing problems, headaches, and long-term health issues. Many workers in these factories don't have proper protection. They breathe in these harmful chemicals every day, just to make simple fruit crates. Most of these recycling plants are in developing countries where safety rules are weak and pollution laws are rarely enforced. In fact, a lot of this plastic waste comes from richer countries that ship their trash overseas, where it is processed cheaply but dangerously. Now that we know where the plastic comes from, let's see what happens next. How is this shredded plastic turned into fruit crates? And why is the process so dangerous? Once the shredded plastic is cleaned, it's time to turn it into something new. Factories use huge machines to melt the plastic down into a thick, sticky liquid. This liquid is then poured into molds shaped like fruit crates. Sounds simple, right? But this is where things start to get dangerous. When plastic melts, it doesn't just change shape. It releases toxic gases into the air. The smell is strong, the smoke is thick, and the people working nearby are breathing it in every single day. Many of these chemicals are harmful to the lungs and can cause serious health problems over time. Some workers report constant headaches, dizziness, and trouble breathing. Once the plastic cools down, the crates are removed from the molds. But they're not ready yet. Many crates come out with rough edges or weak spots, so workers have to trim, smooth, and check each one by hand. This means handling plastic that is still hot, often without proper gloves or protection. The factory floor is full of heat, noise, and toxic air, yet workers push through their shifts, making thousands of crates every day. But how much do these workers actually get paid? And what are their working conditions really like? The people working in these recycling factories don't have easy jobs. Many of them work long hours, sometimes 10 to 12 hours a day, just to keep up with demand. There are few breaks, no air conditioning, and barely any safety measures to protect them from the toxic fumes in the air. Most of these factories are in developing countries where labor is cheap and safety laws are weak. Workers often earn very low wages, sometimes just a few dollars per day. Many of them can't afford to quit, even if the job is dangerous. They need the money to support their families, so they keep working, even when their health starts to suffer. Protective equipment like gloves, masks, and proper ventilation should be provided. But in many factories, it's either low quality or completely missing. Instead of proper masks, some workers tie cloth around their faces to block out the fumes. But cloth doesn't stop toxic chemicals, it just makes breathing a little less painful. And here's something even more shocking. In some places, children as young as 12 or 13 work in these factories. They handle hot plastic, breathe in dangerous fumes, and work long shifts just like the adults. They should be in school, but instead, they're trapped in a job that puts their health at risk. After hours of melting, shaping, and trimming, the fruit crates are finally starting to look complete. But there's still one more step before they are ready to be used. Now that the fruit crates have taken shape, they need to be cooled, checked, and packed before being sent out. This part of the process might sound simple, but it comes with its own set of problems. First, the crates are placed in cooling areas so they can harden properly. This might take a few minutes or even hours depending on the factory's method. But cooling plastic isn't just about waiting, it's about controlling how the plastic settles. If cooled too fast, the crates can become brittle and weak. If cooled too slowly, they might warp or bend. Once the crates are solid, they go through quality control. Workers inspect them for cracks, weak spots, or defects. If a crate doesn't pass the test, it's either remelted and recycled again, or simply thrown away as waste. Which is ironic, considering these crates were supposed to reduce plastic waste in the first place. The final step is stacking and packing. Crates are piled on top of each other, wrapped and loaded onto trucks. They're now ready to be sent to markets, farms, and warehouses all over the world. Once the fruit crates are packed and ready, they are sold to farms, supermarkets, and food distributors. Companies that sell these crates often market them as eco-friendly or sustainable, claiming that they help reduce plastic waste. But here's the truth. Just because something is made from recycled plastic doesn't mean it's good for the environment. The toxic chemicals released during production, the poor working conditions, and the pollution from plastic waste all tell a different story. Many buyers don't think twice about where these crates come from. They only see a strong, cheap product. But the hidden cost is much higher. From start to finish, the process of making fruit crates from waste plastic is filled with hidden dangers. Toxic chemicals, unsafe working conditions, pollution, and misleading marketing all play a role in this industry. Recycling is important, but not all recycling is good for the planet or the people involved. Next time you see a plastic fruit crate, remember where it came from and the cost behind its creation. If you found this video interesting, consider learning more about how everyday products are made by subscribing to the channel. And if you care about the truth behind recycling, share this with someone who should know.